Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Afternoon Drive Home. You can find us on IC, In Christ Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television a couple different ways. Channel 182, which is found on Charter Communications, and that's in North Alabama. You can also find us worldwide, Jim, on Abundant TV, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and we are also in Australia. So we appreciate you listening to us again, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. I have a very special friend with me right now, and he is our Alabama State Auditor. His name is Jim, also known as Zeigler. So thank you, Jim, for being on the show with me today.
Well, it's great to be here on this historic eve. Tomorrow is a very key, important election for this country.
Yes, it is. I'm very excited. Oh, I wanted to thank you also for being so cordial to Kathy and me last week when we came to Montgomery. Thank you. You were my first guest.
Well, we were glad to, and we hope you come many more times. And the people in your region of the state that are more likely to, now I know people all over the state can watch this by the miracle of the internet. But the people that watch your program are more informed.
Yeah, you know why? Because I let you have a voice.
Well, thank you.
Can't think of anybody better. You know something, with this election coming up, I know who I'm going to vote for. And by the way, I always voted for you. But I always do research on candidates. But I'm going to tell you the most confusing thing on the ballot are these amendments. These are confusing.
They are confusing, Donna. There are 10 of them. And in addition to that, there's one more that has no number. And
What's that?
The most important one of all, the proposed recompilation of the Alabama Constitution of 1901.
Okay.
And everybody's got to vote on it. Now, it basically says here, ballot statement for the Constitution of Alabama of 2022. What it does, Donna, it, number one, rearranges our long, huge Constitution so that similar subjects are put together. So if you wanted to go in and research gun owner rights, all the gun owner provisions are together. Or you wanted to go in and research something about your homestead exemption on your home, all those provisions will be put together. And that's a good thing. And secondly, there are repeat provisions in there where it's got the same thing in there twice. Well, this removes the repetitious ones. And it's got portions in the Constitution that are in there that are then later repealed. Well, they just left it in there and it says repealed. If you don't see the part that says it's repealed, it looks like it's still in there. So the repeal parts are taken out. And then they take all those having to do with economic development, which there's a lot in our Constitution about economic development. They lump those together. And then local amendments that have only to do with one county, let's say DeKalb County or Jackson County, all those having to do with any one county are put together, all the way from Autauga to Winston, from A to Z. And those are put together. Now, this is a reorganized Constitution which supposedly makes no changes substantively. Now, nothing is really changed as far as your rights or my rights, except what I just went over. It reorganizes, makes it shorter, easy to research, easy for citizens or politicians or lawyers to use and read the Constitution. And so each voter, when they go in tomorrow, will be asked to vote yes to reorganize the Constitution, as I've just explained, or no, to leave it just like it is. And that is a huge thing. And yet it does not have a number on the ballot. Little confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's quite confusing right there. And then there are 10 amendments here. And why are there 10? We normally have, I think the most we've had before, what, 5?
That's right. And they wanted to model this after the 10 Commandments. Mm-hmm. So they come up with the 10 Amendments. That's the only thing I can.
I'm sorry. I hate to be so suspicious, but go on, let's talk about these things right here. Okay, number 1, plain language explanation. You take care of that. What is this First Amendment all about?
Amendment 1 would change Section 16 of the Constitution. I'm sure all our voters are familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it will add crimes for which bail to be released while you're awaiting trial. If you've been arrested and you've requested bail, it adds to the list of crimes that there'll be no bail. And it adds that bail includes, no bail can include murder. Now, you probably already thought that murder was no bail to begin with. It's not.
I did.
It's not. Capital murder, no bail.
Okay.
But for just plain old ordinary murder, that's a funny way of putting it. But of course, the difference is capital murder. It's some very specific things, like you killed more than one person. You killed, or you're alleged to have killed a law enforcement officer, or you killed somebody in the course of a felony crime. These things are listed as capital murder, and they qualify for you to be executed.
Mm-hmm.
Death penalty or life imprisonment without possibility of parole.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's always been no bail, but they've added plain old ordinary everyday murder. That's a sarcastic way of looking at it, but that's what they've done. Now, kidnapping in the first degree, very serious kidnapping for a rape or murder or other felony conviction, rape in the first degree, sodomy in the first degree, which is forced sexual attack on somebody, sexual torture, domestic violence in the first degree. Now, that's not an ordinary husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend getting in an argument. Domestic violence in the first degree is serious violence, and it can be in the discretion of the judge denied bail, so the person can't get out and go back over there and finish the job they'd started before they got arrested.
Does this also include human trafficking?
Yes, human trafficking is in this list. Burglary in the first degree. Now, that's not just ordinary. It broke in the convenience store at night to steal some items. That's bad enough, but first degree burglary is a very serious thing where you're breaking in to commit a felony, to kill somebody or to rape somebody, something of that nature. And then robbery in the first degree. That's not breaking in the convenience store. That's a person-to-person stick-up. Robbery in the first degree.
Okay.
Terrorism, you could be granted bail, not if this Amendment 1 is passed. And aggravated child abuse of a child under the age of 6. Can you imagine? And all these things are added to the list that the judge can decree no bail. Now, does this solve all problems of criminals getting out and doing more damage while they're awaiting trial. No, but it appears to be a major step in the right direction. So
So
that's
I need to vote yes on that.
yes. Amendment 1 would simply add a list of serious crimes for which the judge can deny bail. Now, you know, the Constitution says that bail will be allowed. You can't just get in jail and you're waiting a trial and years go by and there you sit. Well, this establishes a list of serious, violent public offenses, no bail if the judge so decrees. That's Amendment 1.
Okay. Now, what's going on Amendment 2?
Amendment 2 has to do with these high-speed internet, so-called broadband systems that are being set up in many cities and counties. And it clarifies that the state or a county or a town may spend federal grant funds or state funding to expand access to high-speed internet. Right now, it's not clear that you can spend grant money or state money for that. Not clear. This clears it up that they can. And the mayors and county commissioners and whatnot have really come out in favor of Amendment 2. Now, anybody that wouldn't want to be in favor of Amendment 2, that would include people that thinks that the government shouldn't be getting in the internet business, that private corporations can do this and they can charge for it and make a profit or not make a profit, depending on how they do business. But those that think that the broadband internet is the superhighway, the way of communications and commerce of the future, and to some extent now, this would clarify that state and grant funds can be spent by a county or town or the broadband.
Right.
That's Amendment 2.
Okay. And then number 3.
Incident, and I think your listeners, if they hadn't already got out a paper and pen, it'd be a good time to do that because this is a lot to remember.
It is. And then, you know, you can also replay the shows. Remember that. And they stay on the internet forever or stay on my page forever. So we're not going to get rid of these. Okay.
Okay. Amendment 3. Already, the governor has the power to postpone the execution of somebody that's on death row and has a date with the Grim Reaper. She can postpone it, or she can already reduce the death sentence to life in prison. That's already done, and that won't change. In Amendment 3, what it does, if she's going to do that, it requires her to give a written notice to the Attorney General and to the victim's family. Now, this is in a death sentence. That is where someone has been murdered in aggravated circumstances, like of more than one person or a police officer or in a commission of a rape or something. And if they've been convicted of by a jury of capital murder, and if the jury and judge has ordered the death penalty, they're going to be executed. The governor may nevertheless postpone that once a date is set or reduce it to a life sentence. Now, this will require any governor, this governor or any governor that's going to do that, she's going to postpone it or she's going to reduce it, she's got to first notify the Attorney General and the victim's family. And I think that's only fair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's
It
go
would
ahead
be
and move on. We've got about 14 minutes left
all
in
right.
this segment. So, amendment number 4.
Amendment number 4, if the legislature passes a bill changing the general election process, making it where candidates can do this, can't do that, changing the rules. They can't change the rules within 6 months before the general election.
Mm-hmm.
There's the old saying, you can't change the rules during the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Amendment 4 would keep the legislature from changing the rules of the election within 6 months of the general election.
Okay.
That's Amendment 4.
Okay. All right. So, number 5.
Amendment 5 is a little confusing. It purports to remove some archaic language that's not much used anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The word orphans business.
Mm-hmm.
And true, you don't hear that kind of terminology in everyday language. What are they doing? We got to go change the orphans business. You just and they're going to remove that and replace it with adoption proceedings. And the point is that nowadays, most adoption proceedings don't have anything to do with orphans. It could be orphans, but it also could be people that a parent has been put in jail or has gotten on drugs or has had the children taken away from them.
Yeah.
Anything like that, and the children could end up being adopted. That won't
Mm-hmm.
change whether Amendment 5 passes or not. They just wanted to remove the outdated word and not refer to anything concerning orphans, those who have lost both parents,
Mm-hmm.
and take the words orphan business out of it. Now, that sounds fair enough, but an adoption attorney in Montgomery named Sam McClure, he runs a Bible-based adoption law firm in Pike Road, Alabama, which is a suburb of Montgomery. Mm-hmm. And Sam McClure says, vote no on Amendment 5. He mm-hmm. says under the Constitution, the probate court has general jurisdiction over orphans' business. Mm-hmm. And adoption is an essential part of orphan care. Sometimes it's the best way for abandoned and neglected children to be incorporated into a new family and have their forever home. He says that the term orphans business is not outdated language and describes exactly what the probate court does when there are orphans. And so Sam McClure, who handles this kind of thing, he must handle several dozen a year of adoptions. He says vote no on Amendment 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, Amendment 6.
All right. Amendment 6 affects the cities and counties. There are a number of cities and counties that already have what's called a special property tax. This won't affect that one way or the other. What it will is right now that special property tax has been used to fund bonds, to borrow the money for construction projects. Well, what about if you wanted to use those tax dollars and not borrow and have a pay-as-you-go construction project? That would be a rather conservative move. And Amendment 6 allows those counties and towns that already have these special property taxes to use those for either the borrowing or directly pay as you go for the construction projects instead of going into debt.
Yeah, that
So
sounds pretty conservative. Something I would vote yes on.
yes.
Okay, let's go to Amendment 7.
All right, Amendment 7. There are some counties now, a couple of dozen of them, that are allowed constitutionally to use public funds, tax dollars, to sell properties, to lend the good credit of the county or the town, and to become indebted for economic development. Amendment 7 would give all counties those same powers that the select ones have now, and that the governing body, the county commission or the city council, would be required to give notice that it's going to sell property or lend their credit or become indebted in the largest circulation newspaper, or rather in any newspaper in circulation in the city or town.
Okay.
So that's Amendment 7.
Well, let me ask you this, because really newspapers are pretty much well outdated now. I
They
mean,
are.
admit it. So why even have this one?
I'm thinking that there's going to be a push, but it's not now. It's not on about tomorrow. To allow this notice by any internet medium, such as yours, to give this notice. The idea that it only should be done by newspapers in circulation in the county, that's a little outdated.
Yeah, it does to me too. Okay, now number 8. This is relating to Shelby County.
Yes, only to Shelby County. And for those citizens out there, and there's a lot of them, if they don't live in Shelby County, they don't live in whatever county that the amendment applies to, they have the strategy of, well, I just won't vote on it at all. That's a reasonable strategy. There's another way of looking at it. For Amendment 8 to become ratified, it must pass statewide, and it must also pass in Shelby County. So maybe you should just vote yes on Amendment 8. Then that throws it back to the Shelby County voters, and then let them decide, do they want this Amendment 8 or not? That's another strategy. Vote yes on anything that's, and we're going to see another one in a minute. And what this Amendment 8 does in Shelby County, it allows the sewer companies that use public right-of-way to go under the jurisdiction of the Alabama Public Service Commission.
Ooh.
For their charges and rates and practices, only in Shelby County. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. But could this also be in regards to a business? Maybe I'm in DeKalb County and I would like to begin a business in Shelby County. Would that also be held in regard?
Well, it would, if this passes, to start a sewer system. That's all it has to do with.
Yeah.
That's going to use some of the public right of way. In other words, to run sewers alongside the road.
Right.
You would have to have a certificate from the Public Service Commission to open that sewage business in Shelby County. But it's only sewage business, and it's only Shelby County.
Okay. All right. Amendment number 9.
It's also for just 2 counties in this case. It's for an area, pretty little area called Lakeview, Alabama. And it's in parts of Jefferson and Tuscaloosa County, right there on the county line. And what Amendment 9 would do, there privately owned sewage company that nevertheless used public right of way
Mm-hmm.
would go under the Public Service Commission for
Okay.
regulation. Very similar to Amendment 8, but having to do with Lakeview, the city limits of Lakeview in Jefferson and Tuscaloosa County.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then number 10.
Number 10 states basically that anything is amended in this vote, in this November 8th vote, it will be included in the new recompiled Constitution if it's ratified on November 8th. See, there was a question of if we ratify a new Constitution on November 8th, what about these 10 amendments that we just now putting in? And this, yes, they will go in the recompiled Constitution. That's a little bit of an oversimplification, but basically it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I mean this is much less confusing. I'll have to say that. And that's why I'm gonna miss you, Jim. We're gonna have to stay in touch. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, we most certainly are. The whole thing about the government and amendments freaks me out because I'm always afraid that one word is going to change the meaning to the whole sentence or to
It
the whole
can.
paragraph.
Oh, it can.
Yeah. Well, Jim, we have about 2 minutes left in this segment, and I just wanted to say, first of all, publicly, I'm been very pleased with what you've done, and I hate to see you go, I really do, but I'm pretty sure there's more. There are things you're going to be doing out there, though.
Well, there will be. I'm term limited, and my last day is January 15th. So you got me another 2.5 months, and then I'm looking at a dozen things to see where I'm led to do now. And somebody said the other day, said when one door closes, two more will open up, and I said, man, you living in a haunted house.
Yeah, but you've been a watchman for us now for how many years?
Well, let's see, 8 years as state auditor and 4 years on the Public Service Commission and a number of years as a taxpayer attorney and a number of years as a mediator. 1 year as an investigative news reporter. How about that?
I didn't know that.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Well, you just get Philip Fiesel to buy that Scottsboro newspaper up there. I come up there and we'll run it.
That's what we'll do. That's what we'll absolutely do. Jim, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's always been awesome. Now you keep me updated, okay? I'm your go-to person.
I will. I'll do it, Donna. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done. Everybody, thank you so much for watching Afternoon Drive Home on IC Radio. Get in contact with Jim and let him know how much you appreciated him. I know I do. But we appreciate you listening to us Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as we get to ride home with you in the afternoon. Stay tuned. We're going to have another awesome guest coming up in just a few minutes. And again, Jim, we're going to miss you, but I know you're going to be doing all kinds of great things. Just keep me informed, okay? I'm your person.
Thank you, Donna.
Absolutely. You guys take care. I'll see you again in just a few minutes.